Hi, hello, welcome to Spell a Day, where we're covering a spell every single day of the 5e PHB with 3 homebrew. That's the +1 at the moment, which we've already covered one of them. And that is 365 in total. Yes, going on for a year. And today's spell is Feign Death.
No! I don't want to die!
3rd level Necromancy. Ritual. Casting time of 1 action. Range of touch. Components verbal somatic material. A pinch of graveyard dirt. Duration 1 hour. You touch a willing creature and put it into a cataleptic state that is indistinguishable from death. For the spell's duration, or until you use an action to touch the target and dismiss the spell, the target appears dead to all outward inspections and to spells used to determine the target's status. The target is blinded and incapacitated, and its speed drops to 0. The target has resistance to all damage except psychic damage. The target is diseased or poisoned when you cast the spell, or becomes diseased or poisoned while under the spell's effect. The disease and poison have no effect until the spell ends. I mean, this is the fake poison at the end of Romeo and Juliet. Sorry for spoilers, I guess. Ritual helps this a great ton, but I don't see many situations where you'd use Feign Death outside of hiding amongst corpses or sneaking into a morgue. And those two, that's all I really got. Well, I guess there's also like the Romeo and Juliet scenario where you need to have someone else, people think they're dead. You only have an hour window to do that. Again, Ritual doesn't hurt it. You can set up ahead of time. Action is interesting. One of the issues, it has to be a willing creature. Why, in a pinch, you would need to make one of your players look and appear dead even under the effects of investigation spells is beyond me. One of the things I could find is the fact that if they're under the effects of a disease or poison, you can actually preserve someone this way. It's a weird use for it, or if they're under a curse because they're dead according to other... Oh, wait a minute. When it says spells used to determine the target's status, does that also mean curses that supposedly end when the creature dies? Would this be a way to trick those? I do know in one setting it might. Blinded, incapacitated drops to 0, but you're resistant to everything except psychic. That's pretty good. Well, not pretty good, but that makes sense. Oh, I guess the resistances are pretty good. But the fact that they don't suffer the effects of the disease or poison, even if they're affected by it after, or initiated after the spell is cast, because it's a ritual, and it already lasts a duration of an hour, you could keep casting this without spending a spell slot to preserve someone. If there's a disease or poison that's threatening to kill them, and there's no cure, or the current antidote isn't brought in yet, I mean, you could have an entire, not Sleeping Beauty necessarily, no, actually kind of Sleeping Beauty, but you can have a situation where, like Gilliman from 40k, man, that's a pull. Is it a pull? Poisoned by a blade, or something, purposely kept in stasis, or cryo. This is a trope in some sci-fi or fantasy genres of someone being preserved because they couldn't be cured of something in time. Or there was this disease that was going to end up changing or transforming them, so might as well keep them in this state. This is the closest thing you have to this kind of preservation. Now, it doesn't really keep them from aging, though. They count and appear dead. The disease and poison stop and halt, which is the only thing that is really being preserved, but time will still wear away against them. But you can have one person or a group of people consistently keeping various rituals up and tapping this up every hour. In the NPC case, I doubt players would do this too much. That like, oh, there's this noble knight who was poisoned or diseased by this like witch or hag often long ago, and he's been kept in this state of perpetual, like almost near death, trying to keep him in this state until there's a cure found. Noble, king, princess, whatever trope you want to throw in there of someone being preserved through this manner, could be done. Someone about to turn into a werewolf, hit them with this spell. I'm not going to do that because they're dead. Even if they do change still, would they change? They appear dead even under the effects of... At least they'd still be catatonic and incapacitated. Or would they? I don't know, that gets really funky. 2 out of 10. Outside of the preservation with disease and... Look, if this wasn't a ritual, it'd be rated 1. Well, not rated. With being a ritual, it still has its uses, not having a gold cost, but I just don't see... The one example I could think of was the NPC example I brought up earlier, which could be good for a story plot, but even in practical day-to-day life, or even to the general adventurers, I don't see this coming up that often. Prove me wrong in the comments. Honestly, I'd be all for it if you have examples or stories or other uses you found for this spell. or I'm not seeing the full potential of it, mention it below. But 2 out of 10, because at least the spell, even the bad spells I gave like 3 or 4, still had some use that was immediate. 2 out of 10.